And now we're here with Mr. Jim Grant, editor of Grant's Interest Rate Observer. Thanks for joining us here at Bloomberg.
You are welcome, Keith. Nice to be here.
Now, I've been a fan of yours for a very long time. For those of you who don't know, Jim's been writing the Interest Rate Observer for 28 years. And today, Jim, I wanted to when I think of you, I actually think of this quote. Darwin said, "I'm turned into a sort of a machine for observing facts, and I'm grinding, trying to get conclusions." And I'm holding in my hand what seems to me a major conclusion. You have produced a prospectus for the credit quality of U.S. Treasuries.
We have. We treated the Treasury as if we're a corporate debt issuer. And as you know, a prospectus is this wonderful exercise in reverse salesmanship. The issuing company tells you everything it really didn't want you to know about itself, under the expectation, often fulfilled, that you will not read it. But we have high hopes for this document. It is a compendium of the salient facts about the Treasury, as if it were an issuer that didn't have the printing press. So this is all you needed to know about the credit quality or credit risk of the United States Treasury.
This is, this is a service to America, actually. We sit here with a lot of what we call lagging indicators with S&P, Moody's, Fitch, these different rating agencies that come up with their own, hybrid version of this. And I often wondered when we were going to have somebody
right now,
and you finally did it.
Well, let me tell you about the first risk factor, which I thought would just absolutely knock the socks off of the marketplace, but it has so far passed without comment. And that is, this comes from the General Accountability Office, Government Accountability Office, the GAO. And they, the other day, reported, and we have relayed the fact that improper payments, checks that should not have been written by the Treasury last fiscal year, totaled $98.7 billion.
Wow.
Now, there's something called, as I'm sure you know, there's something called the Improper Payments Information Act of 2002. So they have to disclose every year how much money they spent that they should not have spent, money that went to the wrong person for services that weren't rendered, money that was spent on goods or services for which a discount the feds didn't apply for, all manner of shoddy remuneration by the government. And this number is 5% of Treasury outlays, which gives you a sense of just how vast are the outlays. Like 98.7 sounds like a lot of money, even when you say it fast, right?
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
it's not that much compared to what they spend, both of which facts are absolutely, to me, astounding.
It is astounding. And you've been great over the years just calling out different acts and actually what these acts say. I remember at one point you wrote about the Coinage Act of 1792.
Well, I was there for that.
You were there for
yes,
that? Yes. Well, you certainly look young.
Well, in fact, now that you mention it, Keith, the 1792 Coinage Act is well worth reading, especially, I think, Section 19, which stipulates that the penalty for anyone who would debase the coinage or the currency of the United States is death. Right.
The death penalty is the Coinage Act,
Right.
and that's ultimately the problem here. And last year it was manifested in dollar weakness. Now we have euro weakness, and I wonder if you should have a prospectus for all countries in the G7 or the G20.
Well, I think that people ought to bear in mind that the currencies they trade are unsecured pieces of paper of no intrinsic value, and they have been such since 1971, the case of the dollar, and since long before in the cases of the rest of the currencies. But this is a great suspension of disbelief, our entire monetary system, on the parts of people the world over. And one wonders when people will say, now, tell me again, what is this stuff worth? The Onion, this famously funny satirical paper, had a lovely riff a couple of weeks ago, I guess. It was Ben Bernanke having this existential angst during his testimony before Congress. He began to say, come to think of it, what is a dollar? And of course, he couldn't define it, nor could anybody else listening to him. A dollar is what it is. It is an assertion that the Treasury is going to be good on something. But what?
He's had a hard time defining what GSE debt is. He's had a hard time defining what a dollar is. Well, and I wonder if he's going to have a hard time with your report in defining what the implied rating is, which is not AAA.
I have every confidence he'll never see it, so I think that this will be very easy for him.
That would make things easy.
Well, in fact, the marketplace is muttering along the same lines as our goofy prospectus, because the other day, as you probably heard, Treasury debt traded, as they say, through swaps, meaning that the Treasury's creditworthiness was reckoned a little less strong than the banks that the Treasury itself bailed out last year. So go figure.
Yeah, go figure. And you know what's interesting, Jim? You called this, really, I mean...
beginning in 1793.
Yeah, beginning in the 1700s. You have been calling this all along, of course. But you also, at the end of the fourth quarter, you said expect potentially rocketing yields. And my simple question is, have yields already rocketed, or is that on the come?
First of all, I've so venerable am I that I have outgrown this business of forecasting rates. What I don't know about the future of interest rates is a great deal, especially where they'll be. For what it's worth, so this guy, the royal astronomer, said once concerning some astrological property, he said, I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I would bet my dog's life. As far as the direction of interest rates, I wouldn't bet my life or my Labrador retrievers, but I would bet that of a houseplant. So with that level of confidence, yes, I expect that rates are likely to rise, perhaps in part owing to the world's reappraisal of the creditworthiness of this Treasury.
Well, you've heard it here first, folks. From 1792 on, Jim Grant has been making these calls, even though he won't.
A houseplant says they go up.
We'll be back with Bill Reinsch next. We're going to talk about China, but I'd like to thank you. Thank you very much.
Entirely welcome, Keith.